reasons the words rhyme, the puzzle is electrical and the chemical when at this number pi is exactly the golden ratio, while what was seen is not actually true, because of what we know and how this is far from the truth. When death is the supposed final product, but escape of what you know this world, because the elapsed time was only 5 minutes of the photo of the remnant of what you forgot collapsed. So continue with program satellites map, yes. With an already expected input, it's just electricity's output in an abandoned army base in outer space. They have broken into the bag, sank. As nuclear facility below radiation trapped in the dinosaur's tooth, a labyrinth going back and forth. The pierced mirror, how long ago had you forgotten the three fates? Biological, nuclear, chemical, God's code, shrapnel, sand, glass, the option to leave. If you could just solve this riddle and tell. What you don't see, you don't know. How could that see what hasn't happened yet? Definition geo, spelled like fellow, land, water, and what next? Day, night, and infinite. How about the number, which is a new set? This is just logic. A piece of plastic is high tech. When what was lost, one to think is not a thought, but is lost a method of how to look. While this language is a simple algorithm because computers could mind read trapped in a microchip electrical socket to actual programming sound of mind is wound at this time found as a number not yet used, and see all these lies when again indeed it does rhyme. And what this all implies that it all comes from a point zero with no actual value since it is false. Listen, philosophical. How silently you could fly away from this world, but the answer based upon how this is right in front of the information started at one. The reasons the words rhyme, the puzzle is electrical and the chemical when at this number pi is exactly the golden ratio, while what was seen is not actually true, because of what we know and how this is far from the truth. When death is the supposed final product, the escape of what you know this world, because the elapsed time was only 5 minutes of a photo of a remnant of what you forgot collapsed. So continue with program satellites map, yes. With an already expected input, it's just electricity's output in an abandoned army base in outer space. They have broken into the bag, sank. As nuclear facility below radiation trapped in the dinosaur's tooth, a labyrinth going back and forth. A pierced mirror, how long ago had you forgotten the three fates? Biological, nuclear, chemical, God's code, shrapnel, sand, glass, the option to leave. If you could just solve this riddle and tell. What you don't see, you don't know. How could that see what hasn't happened yet? Definition geo, spelled like fellow, land, water, and what next? Day, night, and infinite. How about the number, which is a new set? This is just logic. A piece of plastic is high tech. When what was lost, one to think is not a thought, but is lost a method of how to look. While this language is a simple algorithm because computers could mind read trapped in a microchip electrical socket to actual programming sound of mind is wound at this time found as a number not yet used, and see all these lies when again indeed it does rhyme. And what this all implies that it all comes from a point zero with no actual value since it is false. Listen, philosophical. How silently you could fly away from this world, but the answer based upon how this is right in front of the information started at one. The reasons the words rhyme, the puzzle is electrical and the chemical when at this number pi is exactly the golden ratio, while what was seen is not actually true, because of what we know and how this is far from the truth. When death is the supposed final product, the escape of what you know this world, because the elapsed time was only 5 minutes of a photo of a remnant of what you forgot collapsed. So continue with program satellites map, yes. With an already expected input, it's just electricity's output in an abandoned army base in outer space. They have broken into the bag, sank. As nuclear facility below radiation trapped in the dinosaur's tooth, a labyrinth going back and forth. A pierced mirror, how long ago had you forgotten the three fates? Biological, nuclear, chemical, God's code, shrapnel, sand, glass, the option to leave. If you could just solve this riddle and tell. What you don't see, you don't know. How could that see what hasn't happened yet? Definition geo spelled like fellow, land, water, and what next? Day, night, and infinite. How about the number, which is a new set? This is just logic. A piece of plastic is high tech. When what was lost, when to think is not a thought, but is lost a method of how to look. While this language is a simple algorithm because computers could mind read chapped in a microchip electrical socket to actual programming sound of mine is round at this time found as a number not yet used, and see all these lies, when again indeed it does rhyme, and what this all implies that it all comes from a point zero with no actual value since it is false. Listen, philosophical. How solemnly you could fly away from this world, but the answer based upon how this is right in front of the information started at one.